Hello everybody. For this video, I'm going to be discussing a very crucial topic. September is Suicide Prevention Month. Now before I continue the video any further, if you or a loved one are suffering from suicidal thoughts or are attempting suicide, call the number 1-800-273-8255. That's 1-800-273-8255. The number one obstacle in prevention of suicide is silence. So we must break that silence by addressing this issue. We must break that silence by allowing the person who is experiencing these suicidal thoughts to feel safe enough to talk. Do not stay silent. There's someone ready to listen and help. Again, that's 1-800-273-8255. Suicide has taken 1 million people globally each year. In the US alone, 30,000 people are taken by suicide, with 500,000 people hospitalized due to attempts. This is a very serious issue. This is something that people suffer from, and they suffer alone typically. That's why we need to make this video. We need to open up topics like this to be that aid or that resource to get someone out of that suffering state, to get someone to get help, to know that there are resources, to not feel like they are alone in their agitated state or whatever it may be that have led them to this point. If you suspect someone is suicide, it is very important to not be afraid and avoid the topic of suicide or the term suicide. It is very important to be direct about it and clear about it, because the question can help make that person feel as if they're noticed. Typically, a person that is suicidal is already asking for help. There are a lot of signs that they show that a lot of people tend to overlook because they're not educated in those warning signs. So addressing it by that name, discussing it openly with someone that you suspect allows that person to feel that they are seen, that they are not alone, that there is hope out there, and there is hope out there. There are people that are willing to help. There is resources. There are so many different options rather than taking their own life. The questions that I am going to go over, the signs that I will go over, and the steps to address it and approach a suicidal crisis are all going to be referenced back from my workbook of First Aid for Mental Health Crises. This workbook was accessed through one of my courses that I did take, and I did get a certificate for mental health first aid. Now, these classes may be variable with who they're available to, but I do recommend that everybody take this and get certified in mental health first aid, because you never know when a situation may be called upon where it's needed in many spectrums, but especially in a case where there is a suicide attempt. And I'm going to be referencing back to this because of the fact that maybe not everybody has the accessible resources or the tools for this particular issue. So I am more than willing to provide these tools and discuss these tools with all of the people viewing this video, because letting that information out there can help prevent something. It can help somebody. It can just be used to be tucked away in a situation that calls for it. So if you do suspect someone is suicidal, you need to ask a couple questions and be direct, because if you are direct, you are showing them that you recognize that they are going through something, and that can spark something in them that allows them to feel like they're being seen, given the fact that this person is already in a state of suffering. They're in a state of despair. And if you get their attention to notice that you notice them, that can make a world of a difference for somebody who feels alone or who feels helpless. You need to ask, are you having thoughts of suicide? And are you thinking about killing yourself? If they appear confident in this suicide crisis, it's reassuring for that suicidal person That suicidal person will feel reassured that they are in good hands, that they are in the eyes of somebody who will be non-judgmental to them. An individual who is willing to hear them out, is willing to seek anything that they need, any resource and help that they need during that situation. And we need to break a stigma here, because a lot of people believe that they need to be quiet about suicide. They can't even say the name suicide because they're afraid that that can plant an idea in a person's mind. But that is actually a myth. Another myth is that someone who talks about suicide isn't serious. It is a very serious topic. So if there's a person describing the fact that they are feeling suicidal, it should not be taken lightly. It should not be taken as a joke. That's a very, very serious thing for a person to think about, even casually. It's a call for help. That's one of the warning signs, and that's something that people overlook because a lot of people will just take it as a joke or self-deprecating humor, or may take it as an over-exaggerated hyperbole in their vocabulary, but it shouldn't be taken as that. Remember, talking about suicide may be a way to indicate how badly that person is feeling. If they are talking about it even in the slightest light, or talking about something related to death, then it's very important to address it because of the fact that it can show how they are already feeling. It can be a way of them tapping from that glass that they feel they're separated in to get the help they need, or maybe somebody will be willing enough to listen to those little whispers that are going on in that person's pain and that person's suggestions, their topics, the way things veer, the direction that they go in. It's important to listen and to direct the person to professional help as well. It's important to be willing to actually listen, not just hear them out. You need to be present, you need to be compassionate, you need to be there, you need to show up for that person. So how can you tell if someone is feeling suicidal? It is important that you know the warning signs of suicide. The signs can include threatening to kill or hurt themselves. That is the biggest and most direct thing ever. But there are more subtle signs that a person needs to be aware of. Another one is looking for ways to kill themselves or hurt themselves, such as seeking access to pills. If you notice that behavior, if you notice that they're seeking weapons or other means, that can be a sign that they are going to hurt themselves or they're planning to commit suicide. Talking, writing, or posting on social media thoughts of death, dying, or suicide. So again, it's not always in person. You may come across an individual who is posting something that seems very, very related to death or related to suicide or related to some sort of despair or harmful behavior to themselves. It is very important to say something or do something about that, because it's so easy to take no action, but it is much better to take action than to be sorry, because that's a person's life. That's a person's call for help. Another sign is hopelessness. If you notice that the person is all of a sudden hopelessness, they're in this hopeless state. They feel like they don't have anything to look forward to. They feel like there's no way of helping themselves, or whether it be a situation or whether it be individually with themselves, you'll notice that they have that. Other signs can be rage, anger, and seeking revenge, acting recklessly, or engaging in risky activities. It seems like if they're just being reckless without thinking, but maybe perhaps they're putting themselves in dangerous situations, and that can be related to that. That could be related to the harm of themselves, wanting something to happen to themselves, or put themselves in a dangerous situation where it does that for them, so they don't have to necessarily do it by the other means that people will typically be focusing their attention on. They may be feeling trapped, like there's no way out. There may be signs of increased alcohol and drug use. They will withdraw from friends, family, or society. They can display signs of anxiety, agitation, inability to sleep, or sleeping all the time. There will be dramatic changes in their mood. They will say that there's no reason for living and no sense of purpose in their life. Again, that draws back to the hopelessness. Now, people may show one or many of these signs, and they can coincide with each other, they can overlap, and there may even be unique circumstances that show different signs that aren't necessarily within that list. So it's very important to use this as a guide to see if they correlate with the person's behavior, whether it be someone that you care about or whether it be yourself. Now, how should we talk to someone who is suicidal? It's important to do the following. Whenever you are in front of somebody or you are talking to somebody who is displaying those suicidal behaviors and has admitted that they are thinking about it, they've thought about it, they've contemplated it, you need to tell the person that you care and that you want to help, because you obviously do. They need to know that you care and you want to help. It can't just be through that action. You need to make sure to reassure them that you're there to help them. You need to express empathy. You need to be able to empathize with that person, listen to them, hear them out when they're talking to you, and be able to empathize in a way where they feel understood and they feel safe. When empathy is practiced, people feel safe to talk to you. You need to clearly state that the thoughts of suicide are often associated with a treatable mental disorder or a circumstance that they're going through, and as this may instill a sense of hope. That may instill a sense of hope because of the fact that if they feel like, okay, maybe this person does suffer depression or suffers an anxiety disorder or suffers a mood disorder or personality disorder or some other psychotic disorder, it's important to state that that may be linked to that, and therefore there is something that trails back to why they're having those thoughts or those behaviors, because that person can see that there is hope, because there is hope. If these suicidal thoughts are linked to something that this person constantly goes through because of a disorder, or if they're going through in this season of their life because of a situation or a circumstance that suddenly has changed in their environment, then it's important to do that, because they will have hope, because there is hope. Things are so temporary in this life. And that also means, while people may veer towards the side of like, well, if things are temporary in this life, they think about the good things being temporary, but in this circumstance, think about the bad things being temporary. If this person is feeling depressed, it is temporary. It's not going to last forever. Think about how many things you have gone through in life, whether it be you or whether it be someone else. Think about how many things that you have gone through in life that you never would have predicted. Now, try to place yourself in that spot. Did you think all of these other things would happen in your life? So think about it this way. If you are here right now and you are stuck in a feeling, or you're stuck in feeling like there's no way out, just think about those points in your life where you couldn't predict all of the trail of events that happened ahead of you. Right now, don't you think that there are so many things ahead of you that you cannot even imagine? Great things that are coming to you that you cannot even imagine. Just think about that. Compare it to different courses in your life, different time zones in your life, different periods of your life. We don't know what this life can bring to us, and your life is precious. So hold on. Keep going. Keep going every single day that you can, because you never know what beautiful gifts this life can bring to you, what experiences are awaiting you to be there. It's very important to realize that. When you are also talking to someone who is feeling suicidal, tell the person that the thoughts of suicide are common and do not have to be acted on. Suicidal thoughts are actually more common than people think, but because of the fact that individuals don't talk about it, it's stigmatized, it is buried under the rug. A lot of people can even feel alone in their feelings. The suicidal person may feel like they're the only ones feeling this way, but there are a lot of circumstances and in studies and percentages and statistics that show that there have been a lot of people who have at least thought about it once in their life. And through this, they can see that those people have gotten through it, those people have righted the wave and gotten to a place in their life that's a lot different than where they are now, because this life has its ebbs and flows. And they are where they are today, and they had a really dark period in their life, such as a person who's feeling suicidal. It's very important to not allow the suicidal person to feel alone, because the suicidal thoughts will just bury them into thinking and being under this illusion that they're alone, that there's no hope, but there's hope, and they are not alone. Suicidal thoughts are often a plea for help. and a desperate attempt to escape from problems or distressing feelings, whether it be circumstantial, whether it be related to one event, whether it be a certain period or a stretch of their life. It is a way of the individual trying to escape those problems. But like I said earlier, think about it this way: your life is this huge line, and this period in your life may be just a dot. You don't know what's on that other side of it. It is so worth, your life is so worth getting through it, getting through the point where you can go on the other side of your lifeline, where you can continue on, you can continue writing the story. You put that semicolon there. You can continue your story. It doesn't have to end here. Your suicidal thoughts don't have to dictate where you go from here or what your life will end here. No, your life needs to continue here. You are worth continuing. You are worth living. You need to encourage a suicidal person to do most of the talking if they're able. They need the opportunity to talk about their feelings and reasons for having these thoughts, and they may feel great relief just by letting that out too. While there are different severities and there is no need to minimize the spectrum that it may range towards when it comes to a person that is experiencing suicidal thoughts or behaviors, it is so important to listen to this person, to let this person talk, because maybe that talk will make the difference. Because if this person feels alone as it is, they don't feel heard. But if someone is willing to listen to them and let them express themselves and let them let out all of that they're suffering within, then that may be the antidote that they need, or it may be a step to help them get out of that darkness. It may be helpful to talk about specific problems a person is experiencing too. You can discuss ways to deal with issues that seem impossible. Do not attempt to solve the problems yourself though. If you know it is out of your means, there's other resources to access. So if you are with this person, you can aid them with those circumstances or the conversations that it veers towards. If it's an issue that they're going through, a problem that they're going through, you can do what is in your means, and you can talk to them with what is in your means. But you can also, like if you were to reference them to a resource that may be a little bit more helpful, then you can with specific issues that are out of your control or out of your conversation range. And you need to reassure them that too. You need to reassure them that there is help for those specific issues, that there are resources for those specific issues if it is out of your range. And again, there's no reason to minimize anything, but there are circumstances that do draw a more seriousness and a higher urgency within the situation. So how can you tell if the situation is very serious? First, you need to determine whether the person has definite intentions to take their life if their thoughts are more vague, such as what's the point of going on. To do this, you need to ask the person if they have a plan for suicide. So while you shouldn't dismiss if they don't have a plan, if they do have a plan, it just makes it that much more of an issue to be acted upon. If they have a plan on how they decided to do it, when they're going to do it, or any steps that they have done so to take those actions, it is something that is also a telltale sign that they're serious about it. And I want to emphasize though, even if they don't have a plan, it should not be taken lightly. But it's just a very important thing to note and a very important thing to ask the person, because if you are in that circumstance and you're calling for help, you need to know all the points to be able to be that extension of help for that person. Whether you be looking for a counselor, a psychiatrist, you be talking to a dispatcher, a first responder, you need to make sure that you know as much information that this person is going through. And it is also important for future reference to check in on this person, because you already know the telltale signs of it all. If they discuss how they want to do it or how they wanted to do it during that attempt, and if they start showing a pattern later on in a future circumstance, and it shows a telltale sign of them reaching for that specific manner that they were going to use to partake into this action, then you can recognize those warning signs quicker because you asked the questions. You need to ask all the questions without being afraid and be direct about them, because you're there to help them. You don't need to beat around the bush with someone that you want to help. You don't need to keep this person in the dark if you want to help them. Shed light upon all of these questions because you want to help them. A higher level of planning does indicate a more serious risk, like I said, but you need to remember that absence of a plan isn't enough to ensure the person's safety. All thoughts of suicide must be taken seriously because you aren't in that person's shoes. So you need to make sure that you look out for them as much as you possibly can. You need to also consider these other questions. If the person has taken alcohol or other drugs, that makes the person more susceptible to acting on that impulse because their defenses are lowered, their impulse control is lowered. You need to consider that as well. You need to take note of that as well during that moment of crisis. Has a person made an attempt in the past? A previous attempt can make the person more likely to try again or complete the suicidal action. Once you have established a risk of suicide is present, you need to take action to keep that person safe. So how can you keep the person safe? The person who is actively suicidal should not be left alone. If you can stay with an actively suicidal person, you need to arrange for someone else to do so. You cannot leave a person alone who is feeling suicidal. In addition, give the person a safety contact that is available at all times. So you can give a telephone helpline such as 1-800-273-8255. You can give them a family member or friend who has agreed to help, or another mental health professional that may be available to help this person, because of the fact that they need to know that there is that extension that is readily available within the dial of a phone or just anything, because if the moment comes as soon as it does, there needs to be a resource available as soon as it does. It is important to help the person think about people or things that have helped in the past. So if there are certain anchors, so to speak, or lighthouses that help them go back from that suicidal fog that they're in right now, it is very important to emphasize and to bring into light those people or circumstances that have helped them in the past to get them out of the suicidal thoughts. These might include doctors, psychologists, or other mental health workers, a family member, a friend, or a community group such as a club or a church, something that they're involved in, something that they feel enthusiastic about, something that breathes life into them, that they breathe life into. It's important to help them see those markers, see those reliable people in their lives that they can reach out to, and to be reminded of the reliable resources, reliable people, to be reminded of those things in their life that they have to look forward to, those things in their life that they're involved in, those things in their life that they love and that they're passionate about. Don't ever use guilt or threats to prevent suicide. That is not a very, very good approach at all. It's not healthy for the person, because this person needs help. They don't need to be guilted, and they don't need to be threatened in it. They don't need one more thing to worry about while they're feeling this way. It's very important to make this person feel safe. It's very important to make this person feel understood. It's very important to make this person feel visible, because this person is feeling so alone, so invisible, and so helpless. Be their lifesaver, be their life preserver in that ocean that they're feeling right now. You need to make sure you're present with them. You need to make sure that you're engaged with them. You need to make sure that you do reach out for those sources for them, and reach out for those sources if it's you that is experiencing this and you click the video. Know that there's help out there. There is so much help out there, and I hope this video can be helpful for that. I hope this is your opportunity to realize that your life is so precious. Whatever you may be facing, I'm not minimizing at all. I know that there can be a wide range of situations that can make a person feel overwhelmed, that can make a person feel like they'll never get out of it. But in this life, this chapter, if it's a dark one, is just a small piece of the entire book. Do not let it take your experience of life away from you. You are worth more. Your life is worth more. You have so much to contribute into this world. Your presence can contribute so much into this world. Your loved ones around you need you. You know, there are days, there's the sun, there's the clouds, there's birds, there's animals, there's food, there's music, there's movies just waiting for you to experience. There's events, there are plans, goals, sleeping, waking up, this new recipe, this new song, this new outfit, a new book, a new topic. There's something out there waiting for you to experience it. There's happy moments, there's celebrations waiting for you. Don't let these harmful thoughts, this ugly voice in your head that makes you think you're not worth living, dictate that. Don't let it win. Keep going. You're stronger than you believe you are. You're stronger than any of your situations. You're stronger than your circumstances. You're stronger than your thoughts. You're stronger than any people who have made you feel like you are not strong. And you are worth keeping alive. If you are feeling suicidal, if a loved one is feeling suicidal, please call 1-800-273-8255. That's 1-800-273-8255. Please. You're worth it. They're worth it. It's very important for us to talk about this. It's very important for us to not be afraid or tiptoe around this topic, because the more we talk about it, the more we are aware, the more we are educated, and the more we are available to be there for other people. This is why I like to make these videos, because you never know who it may help. You never know who it may reach out to. You never know what resource you can provide for somebody who needs it. I hope this video has been helpful to you, or I hope this video has been helpful for you, for a loved one, or just for overall education about this matter. Let's work together to keep each other healthy mentally, psychologically, to keep us all here to ride through life. Thank you very much for watching, and have a good mental health day.